Ed and Lorraine Warren, two of the most popular names in the world of paranormal investigation, have solved numerous hauntings and performed numerous exorcisms together. But there's one case in their lives that left them stunned. Their last case was the Smurls family case. This story begins in Pennsylvania, USA, in 1973. Jack and Janet Smalls moved into an old duplex house with their two daughters. Their previous home had been destroyed by a hurricane. Now, they had moved to a new place. With new dreams and hopes for a better life, everything was going well initially. Within a few months, Jack received a promotion at his job and decided to renovate his house with a substantial investment. But as soon as the repairs and renovation work began, strange things began to occur. Gradually, things in the house began to move around. Tools and equipment used for repairs would often disappear and then return to their original location. In one room of the house, there were strange black marks on the walls. Jack applied 3 or 4 coats of paint over the marks, but within a few days, the black marks returned. Jack also repainted the walls several times himself, but the black marks always returned after 3 or 4 days. Meanwhile, the lights in the house would often flicker on and off by themselves. One evening, Jack sat down to watch TV, and the TV suddenly caught fire. It was as if someone had thrown a bomb at the TV. Jack called several electricians to check the wiring in the house, but nothing was ever found. One night, the radio in their house started playing at full volume. Jack woke up angrily, thinking that perhaps his daughters were up to something mischievous. But when he went into the drawing room, he saw that the radio was playing on its own because the cord wasn't plugged in. This began to happen repeatedly throughout the house. The TV and radio would automatically turn on at full volume even when they were unplugged. Drawers and cabinets would open on their own. The temperature would drop automatically, making it freezing cold even in the summer months. When Jack and Janet's bathroom was renovated, something very strange happened. The day after the renovation, when Janet checked the bathroom, she saw scratches all over it, suggesting an animal had been trapped inside overnight. After this incident, Jack and Janet became somewhat nervous about the house. Once, while Janet was in her room, she felt as if her mother-in-law was calling her from the next room. When she arrived, her mother-in-law said she hadn't heard anything. From then on, the family often felt as if someone was calling them, but they never saw anyone. One night, Jack and Janet heard strange screams coming from their daughter's room. They rushed over to find their daughter's face covered in sweat. She was terrified by something in the corner of her room. She kept saying that there was something terrifying and levitating in the air, but Jack and Janet couldn't see anything. When they turned on the lights, their daughter also saw nothing, and she calmed down a bit. But the next evening, while Janet was working in the kitchen, she suddenly felt a cold breeze. It was February. She thought she might have left the kitchen window open. She must have been, so she turned to close the window, but it was already closed. But when Janet turned back, she felt goosebumps. In the corner of the kitchen was a black shadow floating in the air, a shadow with no face, yet it seemed as if the shadow was looking at Janet. Janet felt as if she were hallucinating. Her limbs were numb with fear. The black shadow first slowly came very close to Janet, then passed close to her and went across the wall of the house. That same day, Janet's mother-in-law also told her that she had seen the black shadow. Gradually, seeing the black shadow became a common occurrence for everyone in the house. Jack and Janet's suspicion was turning into belief. They were beginning to understand that there was a spirit in their house, but since it wasn't harming anyone, they began to live with it. Sometime later, Janet and Jack had twin daughters, and everything changed. One day, Jack was sitting in the living room with his daughters when suddenly he heard a strange noise coming from the ceiling, as if someone was tearing something off the ceiling. When Janet looked up, her breath caught. She quickly pulled her younger daughter closer to her. As she moved, a large sandalwood fell from the ceiling. If anyone had fallen under the sandalwood, it would have been very difficult to survive. After this incident, Jack went to church and shared the events in his home with a priest. The priest came to their house and performed a blessing ritual, which is somewhat like a prayer. After that, all activities stopped for a while. But then, after a while, everything started back, and this time the incidents became more frequent. Sometimes kitchen appliances would catch fire, or sometimes light bulbs would burst on their own. Family members living in the house were often injured by objects. The point was reached when, just after the priest performed a blessing ritual, the small family's dog began to squirm and bark loudly. Then, right in front of everyone's eyes, it flew into the air and landed on the back wall. Their dog was badly injured, but what happened that day shook the entire small family. Jack and Janet now understood that the spirit in the house was after their families' lives. Several priests visited the house and performed blessing rituals, but they had no effect. Jack asked the priest to perform an exorcism on the house, but Jack had no proof of any of this. Therefore, he was denied permission by the church. He had already invested a lot of money in the house, and Jack couldn't find a buyer. So, Jack and Janet couldn't leave the house, even if they wanted to. Years passed, but they couldn't find any solutions to their problems. Then, someone told them about Ed and Lorraine Warren. Will Adlor and Warren be able to save the Smalls family, or will something more terrible happen? To find out, watch the second part of the conspiracy of the Smalls family case next week, only on our YouTube channel. So, be sure to subscribe to our channel.